I've driven people from that conversation straight to the hospital.
Yeah.
I've driven them straight to a GP. I've driven them straight home and had a conversation with mum and dad and say, hey, this is really serious, and I know you're not equipped for it. I'm not equipped for it either, but now 4 of us know, so let's get to work. And of course, everyone, going back to what we said last week, everyone's willing to help if they're asked, but very rarely do people get asked. We're very good in this country at giving people help, but not so good at asking for it. So,
hi, I'm Dr. Jodi Richardson, and this is Well, Hello Anxiety. In a world that often moves too fast, we're here to pause, breathe, and understand anxiety together. Each episode will explore practical strategies, share honest conversations, and uncover the science behind anxiety and well-being, all while creating a space where it's okay to not be okay. Let's continue this journey together. Welcome back to part 2 of this very special episode. I'm talking with Gus Worland, who is the co-founder with his wonderful wife of Gotcha for Life, the mental fitness app, and is just doing the most brilliant work, the most brilliant and powerful and impactful work when it comes to helping people support one another with their mental health, understand what it means to be more emotionally adaptable, building the skills of mental fitness, and knowing how to reach out for help and supporting other people who might reach out to us. So just a word of warning that because we may be talking about suicide in this episode, just take care while listening, and please reach out if you're in Australia to Lifeline 13 11 14 or to a crisis call number in your country from wherever you're listening, and a very warm welcome back. Gus, thank you for everything that you shared last week, and for all the examples as well. You did lose a very dear friend to suicide, and I had a conversation with, I'm not sure if you're familiar with the work of the wonderful Danielle Miller. She's an extraordinary thought leader in the area. She has enlightened education for girls. So if you're not familiar with Danielle's work, you'd just love it. Does a lot of work with women's domestic violence shelters as well. But we talked about suicide here on the podcast, and she said 135 people on average are affected when somebody takes their own life. And it just, look, to get a little bit introspective for a moment, look, I've been in a place where, because before my anxiety was diagnosed, I was in my mid-20s, I became depressed. I was going to say badly depressed. Depression is so horrendous. It is such a low place to go. And I didn't care if I didn't wake up. I didn't want to hurt myself, but life felt so hopeless. And, suicide is one of these things that often can leave people so baffled. And I know that's how you and your family and friends felt when you lost somebody very, very dear to you. What is it about people who get to that place? What is it that they don't really want to go? They don't really want to die, do they? What is it that they're trying to achieve by thinking about taking their life, or even going to the extent of trying?
Well, firstly, Jode, thanks for sharing that, and I'm glad that you're okay, and I'm glad that you've been able to work through it. But you would also know that it's not a battle, but it's something that you probably think about most days, and you worry about it in your own children and your friendships and stuff. So it's always there. It's still tough for me to talk about my friend, because I just felt that he had everything. I talk about him being sort of like a superhero without a cape. He seemed to be the guy that had all the answers. I still can't quite believe it. And I've spoken to many people that have tried to take their life, and they're still with us. And what I have taken from those conversations is that they didn't want to die, but they were in pain and they were tired. And if you can just think about how tired you can be, like jet lag, days and days, as well as then being in pain. So jet lag with toothache for months for some people, for years for some people, and eventually it just becomes too much. And if that's what life is, then why would you want to live that life? But the thing is, that isn't their life really, but it's their life at the moment, and they've got the blinkers on, and that's all that they can see. So you can't actually blame them a lot of the time for feeling that, oh, you know what, I do want to check out. But the thing is, we need to be able to help them get out of that and get them back to reality, get them back to the real life.
Yeah.
And that's where the village piece comes in. That's where the help that you get comes in, and to get you out of that, because you can understand why they might feel that way. So for me, it gave me great hope when I talk to people that have tried to take their life and they're still with us, because when they said the moment it seemed too late, there was a real regret to go, I don't want to do this. So that gave me hope to go, right, if we can get to people when they're 2, 3, 4 out of 10 and we build up their emotional muscle, then we'll never get to a 7, 8, 9, 10 out of 10. And then, of course, I did a Lifeline function not so long ago, and I hosted an event, and I said, I want all of you out of a job in 5 years. And they all laughed and stuff. I want those hotlines to be sitting there with not one person ringing. Like, of course, that's ridiculous, but that's where we should be thinking. If one death is too many, if you have to walk down the garden path and knock on the door of someone and say you've just lost someone to suicide, if that's too much, that's one person, so it's got to be 0, right?
Yeah.
That's what we've got to be challenged to do. That's what we need to be focused on, is that number of 0 suicides, making everyone in Australia mentally fit so they can stick their hand up and ask for help. Well, if that's what we're trying to do, which is what Gotcha for Life is trying to do, then we have to learn how to have conversations of gravity. Yeah. We need to learn to stick your hand up and ask for help, and that is going to take time and effort. But the hope that I got when people said I actually regretted the moment it was too late, well, okay, well, that gave me great hope to work with people now to go, right, we never want you to get to that stage.
Yeah. And that's the work that you're doing, and the app. And if you haven't listened to last week's episode, please go back and we'll cover over the brilliant resources as well. But I love mental fitness. I mean, and one of the things that I think I really want to implore all of us to do is, we think about what food we eat, and we know whether or not we're sort of doing the right thing by our body, when it comes to, breakfast, lunch and tea and what's happening in between, and what we're drinking as well. We understand what's nutritious and what's not. We know that lifting weights is really important, that maintaining cardiovascular fitness is important. We know that blood glucose control is important. And we need to think about our mental health in exactly the same way. And there are things that we can do each and every day for ourselves that help to build our psychological resilience. And that's really good role modeling if we're parents and we're doing that in front of our kids. But also just to know that it is so human to have ups and downs. And there's a number of happiness myths, Gus. I'm not sure if you've come across them before, but one of the happiness myths is that it's normal to be happy all the time. And what I love about the work that you're doing is you are normalizing that it is so normal to experience a whole range of feelings. Like, I grew up thinking, I guess I grew up with anxiety that was undiagnosed. I'm such a people pleaser, never wanted to cause any ripples, because that would just drive my anxiety high if I felt like I'd upset someone. So I always had a smile on my face, always doing things for others. And, that's probably a separate conversation. But when I learned that it is not normal to be happy all the time, I felt so liberated. And when we can just accept what comes for us, that we might wake up one day feeling a bit anxious or a bit flat, or something happens, a phone call, an email, a text, a incident, whatever it is, that kind of feels like it makes us a bit wobbly, which is a word you used last week that I just love. It's so normal. And do you feel as though that we're getting better at normalizing that? And you do so much work with young people. Do you feel as though that the generation that's coming through they're not talking to their parents, we know that. Are they talking to each other? I know they're reaching a lot for their phones and for their, for Google and for probably Chat GPT these days to ask a lot of questions. But do you feel as though we're making headway normalizing just that it's okay to feel a broad range of human emotions?
Look, definitely. But still, the number one way to die as an Australian male between 15 and 44 is suicide. So if that's the stat and we're getting better, imagine what it would be if we weren't getting better. That's the way I look at it.
Yeah.
I look at my kids, and how they are with their boyfriends and girlfriends and group of boys and girls all together. There's very rarely a handshake anymore. There's a hug.
Yeah.
I walk in on conversations and I go, wow, that's a really, really beautiful conversation. And they're sharing that stuff together and they're talking about anxiety and they're talking about how they feel. So they're definitely getting better. But we've got a long, 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 long way to go. So from my point of view, we just have to keep working hard. I spoke last week about celebrating for a New York minute, and I didn't know what a New York minute was. I just thought it was a really cool phrase. But basically, the moment, if you're in traffic in New York City and the traffic light goes from red to green, the New York minute is the moment it turns green until the first honk of the horn of the person behind you, which is, if you've spent any time in New York, is about, it's like it happens really quickly, right? So we celebrate the little moments, the little wins. We had a 5.3% drop in suicide through COVID, which most people were surprised about. But celebrate for a New York minute. Back on the horse again. Let's go, because it's still 9 a day. It's still, over 3,000 a year. It's well over the road toll. Like if people died on the road toll, the numbers that we have in suicide, they'd ban cars.
Yeah.
So, we've got to get serious in this country. And when I did my TED Talk, I did the World Health Organization numbers, and they're horrific. Nearly 40,000 attempts a day, just incredible amount of people, nearly 2,000 taking their own life every day around the world. Like, it's just, I know that you don't want to live in a world like that. Your listeners don't. I certainly don't, and everyone that I'm associated with. So what are we going to do about it? Well, we can talk to the cows come home, but unless you action some stuff, unless you actually listen and go, right, I'm now going to do that and try something and be a bit vulnerable and not quite know how it's going to work out. You know what? We're paralyzed by trying to be perfect. We're paralyzed by social media looking so awesome all the time. Yep. It's nonsense. It's not real life. So let's just have that moment where we go, we're going to throw away perfect and we're going to do the best that we possibly can and lead with absolutely the truth and with kindness and just being the best possible person we can be with the people that we love. Work out who your village is and work on those. And everyone else you can fake it till you make it with. But make sure the people you love and adore and can't imagine living without, make sure that those people know the real you. And that way they'll be the real them with you. And that way you've got all these conversations that are all of a sudden really, really cool and really authentic and kind and healthy and human, rather than at the moment all this banter that we have, which of course I love. I mean, I've worked in FM radio forever. It's always telling a joke. It's always having a laugh. Yeah. Well, that's fine. But leave a little bit in your hip pocket to have a conversation that's real.
Yeah. Talking about suicide isn't easy. And, I really am. I am so, so sorry for what you've been through. And, Angus would be so incredibly proud to see kind of what's come of that, that experience in your life and in the life of, your family. Asking someone if they're thinking about hurting themselves is a hard thing to do as well. And I know a lot of people, and I don't know what the research says about this now, but there was a belief that if I ask someone, it might plant a seed that wasn't already there. We know that not to be true. It's
the opposite.
It's the opposite. Yeah.
First thing I learned when I did the accidental counsellor work, which is work that I did sort of in and around the Man Up program, was the first thing you should ask is like, are you thinking of taking your life? Mm. And I'm like, what are you talking about? Like, it's no way I'm going to say that to someone. That's just going to make them feel like it's an option. They go, no, that's what you should say. And there's all the, you would know it better than I, the reporting around that. I'm like, okay, well, that's what I'll say. And I've now said it 1,000 times more than, and people just go either yes, and I then know that I'm not equipped and I get them the help that they need, or we can start having a conversation of putting a plan together because, oh, no, I'm not anywhere like that. However, it's just starting to bobble around now. I can't see any light at the end of the tunnel. Okay, well, that's where I can play, and we can then play together. I'm in your team now and give me the ball, coach, and let's go. So at least you know where you sit. It's a bit like someone falls over in front of you in the schoolyard. I can put a bit of Savlon on and a Band-Aid, but if they broke their leg, then of course I'm not equipped. So go and get the teacher, phone the AMBO, blah, blah, blah. It's exactly the same with our melon. And if they're brave enough to tell you what they're going through, if they trust you enough to say, this is what I'm going through, take that as a badge of honor and make sure you take that responsibility very, very seriously and then get them the help that they need, whatever level it is.
Yeah, but don't be afraid to ask the question. When we ask, and I've asked this question more than once of people in my orbit, in my world, in my village, and because I've learned to do that, and what you've just said is so important to know, that you don't have to have all the answers, but asking the question gives you the information you need to know what to do next. And then it's like you said, somebody might say, no, absolutely not. And you're like, okay, I just had to ask. I just wanted to check in. I'm always here. And if they say, well, actually, yes, then, okay, that's a deep conversation. That's a big deal. And then together you work to get that person support. It's, honestly,
I've driven people from that conversation straight to the hospital.
Yeah.
I've driven them straight to a GP. I've driven them straight home and had a conversation with mum and dad and say, hey, this is really serious, and I know you're not equipped for it. I'm not equipped for it either, but now 4 of us know, so let's get to work. And of course, everyone, going back to what we said last week, everyone's willing to help if they're asked, but very rarely do people get asked. We're very good in this country at giving people help, but not so good at asking for it. So that, again, is all part of that. She'll be right, mate. That Aussie ocker, just get on with it, just take a teaspoon of cement and harden the you-know-what up. That is actually killing us. Yeah. It's killing us.
Yeah.
By not asking for help, people feel alone and then they make poor decisions, men in particular. Yeah. So that's where we need to get better.
When it comes to men and the resistance around kind of talking openly about how they're feeling, for the women listening who might share this with a partner, or the fellas listening who are like, you know what, I'd like to open up a bit more, but like with strength training, like with walking into a gym for the first time, that the first time you do something does bring a little bit of uncertainty, a little bit of anxiety, but it takes a little bit of courage to be the first. But for the fellas listening to this who are sort of thinking, you know what, I'd like to kind of make this more the norm in my friendship group. Where's a good place to start? Is it sharing an episode?
Not face to face.
Not face to face. Okay, go on. I'm not going. Yeah, you go.
If you think about it as mental fitness, the face to face is the marathon. Okay. So we've put some planning in place for this. We've got the paw cream for the chafing between the legs. Like, we are fully committed. We've got the camel pack with the water. We've got the gels and everything.
We've got the Gotcha for Life box from Chemist Warehouse. So yes,
we're working. Nice, I appreciate that.
Yeah.
We're working up to that.
Yeah.
So I started in my sessions with a simple text message saying to everyone seems to have a WhatsApp group now, or a group chat of some description, or on Messenger or whatever. So just send out a note and start showing some vulnerability and see what responses you get. We're just talking footy tips here, brother, and you've gone deep on it. But it just starts a conversation of gravity. It just starts a conversation that's a little bit deeper. And, of course, the larrikin, especially most blokes, will start taking the mickey, make a joke out of it and whatever. It softens the blow, but it starts a conversation that's a little bit different. So for me, my mates know that I'm going to, hug them like it's like I'm a big bear, and they're going to get it whether they like it or not. They also know that I'm going to share stuff, and they don't need to respond, but they're going to get it.
Yep.
And it opens up the door then for them to share stuff with me. And sometimes that's to the group, and sometimes that's like private chat. Yeah. Before I came on with you, Jose, today, I got a message from my dad's partner saying that he's going to hospital. He collapsed. And I was going to cancel this chat with you because I didn't know that I would be able to be all right. But I have loved chatting to you. But as you've been talking to me, I've had all these messages come through because I sent it out to my boys, my mates, my 12 mates.
Yeah.
So they've all come back to me individually. This is how men cope. We don't know how to do it. So we go, okay, I don't know quite what to say, so I'm going to go back to Gussie individually to say, I'm here for you. Do you need me to drive you anywhere? Blah, blah, blah. Only one of my mates has come back and said, thinking of you, buddy, I'm here. Everyone else has come individually. So I've got all these individual messages now. So I know I've been vulnerable.
Yeah.
I've let your listeners know.
Yeah.
Before that, I told my mates. I've now got 12 blokes willing to drop everything and drive me to Canberra to be with my dad tonight.
Yeah.
Now, if I was doing that all by myself, I'd muck it up. I couldn't drive to Canberra now.
No.
At the end of this conversation, I will at some point just take a moment, and I'm certainly not going to be driving, because at some point through that 3 hours, I will not be well enough to drive and crying and all that sort of stuff. So I need one of my mates to drive me. So I'm now thinking, who's got the most comfy car?
Who's got the best wheels?
Who's got the best wheels? And can I play a little bit of yacht rock on our way down there, and, just having a bit of fun with it?
Yeah.
And that, I believe, is what it's all about, is actually having a friendship group, which is not just about beers and sport and having the good times. It's about going through all this stuff together. And believe me, that builds emotional muscle, that builds mental fitness, and that builds a friendship to the point where you would do anything for each other. You are literally the brothers that you choose to be with, and that is stronger than any sort of blood. So that really is that plea to all men listening, or to any ladies listening at the moment who have a man that, traditionally doesn't talk and stuff. Well, maybe replay in the last 10 minutes and say, have a listen to that. What do you think? And I reckon every person in this world wants to feel a part of something where you can be really yourself.
Yeah.
You can be absolutely who you are, and people will love you for it, and they're there for you. And it's not like we live in that area, that vulnerability, for very long. Yeah. We just live there when we need to, and then we're out of it, and then we're back in taking the mickey and having fun again, or getting back to, normal life. But normal life is like that, isn't it? Ups and downs, good times, bad times, and just getting through it in a group is so much better and easier than trying to get it through by yourself.
It really is. It really is. Whenever we try to do anything alone, we're just so much stronger. It just builds our capacity. We know people have got our back, and we cope so much better. And we can fall apart, and we can cry those tears and let those feelings out, and then have someone there to kind of scoop us back up, and throw in the odd meme into the WhatsApp group. When we're on the other side of these challenges, I am. Do you know what? I'm sorry to hear that that's going on for you. I am really moved by what you shared. I love that you felt comfortable enough to share that with us, that you've got all of that beautiful support flooding in. I'm going to finish up the podcast now so that you can catch your breath, you can work out what you're going to do next, and make that very important decision about whose wheels are going to be driving you to Canberra this afternoon. And just want to give you the chance just to share again with listeners where they can. Oh, look, I'm going to do it, because I'm going to say Gotcha for Life, GOTCHA 4life.org is where you can go. You can go to mental fitness on your on Google or on your app store. There's merchandise. You can make donations. You can book presentations for your primary school, for your workplace, for your sporting club. This organisation that you have founded, Gus, and with your wonderful wife, and an incredible team of board members and of advisors and presenters, it is really making such a powerful difference. I want to say a huge thank you to you for just leading the way, and thank you for saying yes to joining me and sharing just a snapshot of the work that you're doing and some of the experiences you've had with my listeners today. I'm so grateful.
Absolutely, anytime, Jode. Thank you, and to all your listeners, I hope they take some action from this. And before your head hits the pillow tonight, make that list of the people that you love, send them all a note saying you love them, and just see what the response you get. And look after them. They're the most important people in your world. Jobs come and go, opportunities come and go, but your village, you want to be the person that they can come to and talk to about anything. So you need to work on that to become that person. So thank you, and thank you for all the work that you are doing. And I look forward to giving you a big hug when we eventually get in the same room.
Me too. I'm such a hugger. I will take you up on that. That sounds awesome. Thank you again, Gus, and please take care.
No worries.
Take care.
My pleasure.
Thank you for sharing this time with me on Hello Anxiety. Remember, understanding anxiety is the first step to managing it. Until next time, be gentle with yourself. Take things one moment at a time. Focus on what you can control and know that you are not alone on this journey. If you found value in today's episode, please share it with someone who might need to hear it too. I'm Dr. Jodi Richardson, and I'll meet you right back here next week.